Good morning. My name is Cherie Hanks and I'm your instructor for Square Foot Gardening 101. We're going to start with just the basics and how we did things and how we got things together. And as you can see behind me, this is our some of our garden. We are working on a different concept. Instead of, we are still doing raised beds, but we're using block, decorative block, instead of wood framing. So we're going to show you a little bit about each stage as we get them prepared for the actual seating. Okay, this is how we start. We form the beds using the decorative block, and we're actually in a fenced-in garden area, so our framing of our garden is the cement frame that goes all the way around the garden is between 6 to 8 inches high. The blocks are all 6 inches high, and this square foot garden bed is actually going to be 6 foot by 4 foot. We like to keep the 4 foot going no matter what, so that we can work on each side all the way around the bed, going 2 feet in on each side. And we will show you, we will put this one together for you, and you can see how this one works. This is a connection bed that connects our big large beds together. These beds are 2 foot, and they're usually 2 by 4 foot in distance, and they're 2 feet to the wall. In this stage of the garden, we have the chicken wire that is down first. You don't see that at this point. And then we put a weed block on top of that. And then we move on to the next stage where we add the dirt. This is Mel's Mix. We buy it by the bag, and we'll show you a picture of the bag in just a second. And this one is just starting to be filled, and we'll show you more about how we fill that and get that one ready to go. And then the bed right next to it is the bed that we've had going for the summer months. We have our corn going and several other different things happening here. Some of the stuff we've allowed to go to seed so we can harvest the seeds to put them in the next bed. The first stages in putting together our square foot garden was to build our framing for where the dirt will be put. And that is actually the hardest work for what we were doing, since we used the decorative blocks. We had to level off the area, the ground where we're going to actually put the blocks, level the blocks so they're all the same distance, so they're 6 inches high all the way across, and got the dirt, this bottom ground ready. So our next stage is to put the chicken wire down. We do have a problem with groundhogs here, and we found out when we were doing a traditional garden, the groundhogs would come in, and the next morning we would come out and a whole rose bush would be gone, sucked out from the bottom. They would just pull it straight through. And so we decided we want to do the chicken wire, and so I'm going to show you that step right now. We already cut the chicken wire to size. And we're just going to set it right down on the bottom. And in our gardening, we will have a watering system, and that's the hose that we already have put in place for a drip system that will be going in. So first we just put the chicken wire flat down in there so it covers the whole area, because in this case groundhogs are not our friends. And I just set that right on in there. And we definitely have a weed issue here, so we put weed block on next. Block is just this black paper. And we just roll it right out to fit our area. We bought the weed block so that it was 48 inches wide, so it would fit right into our beds. Set that down underneath there. We're just using this block here to hold everything down before we put the dirt in. All right. Okay, as you can see, we put the weed block completely down so you don't see any ground underneath that black paper, because we don't want any weeds coming up from the bottom. We still do have to deal with weeds that blow into our beds, but there's nowhere near what we have to deal with if we don't have this weed block down. Okay, the next step in our process now will be actually filling our beds with dirt. And you can see that this bed over here is almost done. We have all the dirt in it, but we have to bring some more in to bring it up to level. So we're going to go get those now. Okay, this is the dirt we use. It's called Mel's Mix, and it is the foundation and probably the most important part of square foot gardening, is this mixture to create our dirt. And the mixture is 1/3 blended compost, 1/3 peat moss, and 1/3 vermiculite. And as you can see over here, this is what it's going to look like when we stick it all in there. That's what it looks like outside the bag. So we buy it by the bag. This is Mel. Everybody say hi to Mel. Hi, Mel. This is all organic, and we have priced it, and in order to get organic and not compost that is an animal product, we found it would be much cheaper to just buy it by the bag. But what we do though is we buy it by the pallet, so we get the bags at $10 each. So it'll be cheaper for us to do it this way than it is to actually mix those three. And this is ready to go, so all we have to do is pop open the bag and throw it in the beds. Okay, we're getting ready to put in the Mel's Mix. And one of these bags will cover a square foot garden bed that is 2 by 2. So a 4 by 4 bed, you will need 4 of these bags, which is the traditional bed that everybody makes. 4 by 4, you need 4 bags. This bed here happens to be a 13 by 4, so we're going to need 12, 13, 14 bags to cover this one. We'll start putting it in. What we want to be careful of as we're putting the dirt in and as we're working around the bed preparing it is we do not want to step on the soil. We do not want to pack it in. That's the one important concept that's different from raised bed gardening to the traditional row gardening, is you do not pack down the soil at all. So the roots can really move around in there when they're growing. So we just spread it out a little bit, and we already had several bags in here, so we probably have to add a few more, and then we'll go on to our next step. Now that we got the dirt in, and all the dirt is up at 6 inches all the way around, we put in our grid. This here is our grid. It is where square foot gardening gets its name, because each one is 1 square foot. It is used for the purpose of separating our seeds and planting them in each square foot. This is made out of lattice, and we just screw together the lattice together so that they'll just hold steady right there, and all we do is lay it right on top so that it sits perfect. This one happens to be an 8 by 4, and this bed's 13, so we had to make another one to make up for the rest. Let me go grab that one real quick. So now, as you can see, we have the whole grid, the bed, the dirt, everything's ready to go. So our next step will be the actual seeding and planting for our fall crop. So see you next time on Square Foot Gardening 101.